series here at Bill Highway for all of you component relations professionals. Let everybody fill in here, give them an extra minute. We're going to be talking about the top 8 chapter resources that you need. Not that you want, not that you like, that you need. I see some familiar faces already. Can everyone hear me okay? Go ahead and put a Y for yes, an N for no, and also make sure to let me know if you can see the screen okay. And if everyone is good, we're going to get things rocking and rolling today. Real quick, for all of our new faces and newbies that might be listening to us or the recording, I am Kyle Bazzi, the Director of Growth here at Bill Highway. As I always like to share, a very proud Detroiter, where we are headquartered. And Bill Highway is a technology that works with CRPs, that solves problems for chapter-based associations. So welcome, we're glad you're here, and I want to get us kicked off today with a question. And this was something we posed to many of you already, that the answers have created today's webinar from our surveys late in 2016. And that is, what kind of help do you need right now? I don't want you to type anything in, I just want you to think in your head. Today I want to work on your problems, okay? So what kind of help do you need right now? So today we structure this, and we're evolving our education, but we structured today in the top 8 chapter resources that coincided with the challenges that you as CRPs, component relations professionals, are going through. So let's go over those 8 chapter resources. So number 1 is management and membership. We're going to be diving into that. Leadership and engagement, support for volunteers and leaders, collecting and sharing data, component structures, chapter restructuring, case studies and best practices, and association trends for 2017. All right? So here's how we're going to do it a little bit differently than we have in the past, but I think it'll be a lot more effective for you. So we're going to talk about a problem today, or a challenge, or even an opportunity. We're going to define what that reality is, talk about some solutions, and connect those solutions to resources for you, okay? So our goal here is, how can we continually make these webinars more effective and applicable to the real world for people like you, all right? So management and membership. So let's talk about the situation. And I got this question posed, and I want you to think about this. When parents fight and argue, who feels the negative effects? The kids, right? So when national headquarters and chapters fight, who feels the effects? Members. That is the situation when it comes to management and membership that exists for you CRPs when you have chapters. So the reality is, members win when chapters and HQ get along, all right? Let's all, as CRPs, understand that and embrace that. When members will win when chapters and HQ get along. So much easier said than done, though. So what are some solutions? Improving your operating framework is number 1. We have to improve the way things are working and communicating, what is affiliated and how we affiliate, before we can get a win-win for our members. And it's about maximizing that. So throughout this presentation, we're going to be dropping some resources in the form of links into the chat. So the first one's going to get dropped right now, and that is the Principles of Affiliation in Operating Framework PDF. Second solution is making sure you align your goals. Now, the solutions we're going to be presenting today, I know that the thought of them are great, but actually getting them done is no easy feat. So we want to get started somewhere. So aligning goals is a really good and easier way that you can get started when we think about the management and membership challenges that exist because of the chapter structure or component structure. So we'll drop in the components in the Race to Membership white paper. We want you to gain insights here to improve your membership marketing efforts, concentrating on how to do that through a chapter-based system, okay? And here's a challenge I have for you when it comes to this, because if you look at it, here's management and here's membership, and chapters is right above membership, and you're the glue. The CRP is in the glue right in the middle of all of that. So you have to become a better communicator. All right, if you set your New Year's resolutions, and let's say the chance is 90% of you have already failed on at least one of them, then put a new one in. And I would say that would be a better communicator. That is your job as a CRP. Number 2 out of 8, leadership and engagement. Okay, leadership and engagement. So what's the situation? If you are not effectively engaging chapters, you can't expect them to work well with you. All right. So if you're not effectively engaging chapters, I didn't say just engaging, I said effectively engaging. I'll get responses to this as, Kyle, well, I do all of these things and nobody shows up. Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad you are. I really am glad you're doing something. But you haven't found an effective way to engage. And on the whole, if no one, quote unquote, is showing up, the problem is you, not them. Okay? So are you effectively engaging your chapters? So the reality is hitting your goals at HQ is all about finding the best way to engage. If you guys need to increase retention, if you need to increase membership, if you engage your chapters effectively, the outcome will be you hitting your goals at the end of the year or the end of the quarter. So what are some of these solutions for leadership engagement? Well, number 1 is you need to ask your chapters what they want help with. Okay? There's an intersection between what your national office wants and your chapters want. And that intersection is where you need to start. But if in most cases, you're already going to know what your staff wants at HQ, your senior leadership that's telling you what to do. But you need to know and get intimate knowledge on what your chapters want help with. That intersection will be where you start. And then you need to start with your early adopters. I want you to think through right now which chapters you just enjoy working with. Okay? That's usually a key indicator that they're an early adopter. And an early adopter is defined as they know they have the problem, they have the problem, they know they have the problem, number 2, and lastly, they're trying to solve the problem. Okay? If those 3 things exist, that's an early adopter, and those are the chapter leaders that you want to start with because you're going to find success earlier with them. And then the third solution up here, start with the biggest chapter challenges. Okay? Start with the biggest chapter challenges. The bigger the problem you solve, the more you're going to get momentum with your chapter leaders. We have a couple of resources here that we're going to drop here about chapter engagement. So we investigated a bunch of models of engagement outside of traditional chapters with industry articles and case studies. So we have a lot of resources on that for you. And then also driving chapter value. So how smarter investments will boost the ROI of association chapters. Okay? So those are getting dropped into the chat for you. So if you're looking, if your challenges are leadership and engagement, we just dropped some resources for you. All right, quick sidebar as people are clicking on some links. We're constantly trying to highlight chapter champions that exist, that are like you, so you have ability to connect with other CRPs, component relations professionals, to further your knowledge, there's a saying, iron sharpens iron. And so we're going to constantly highlight these chapter champions that we find in the industry that are really good. The first is Dresden Farhan. She launched the 12+ state chapters at CoSN, the Consortium of School Networkers. She found a way through a lot of the programs that we teach to increase membership by 38% and increase retention by 24%. She's been actually in the last year presented with a bunch of awards for the work she's been doing, including 40 under 40. The second is Charles Deal, Chip Deal. He's held some great positions at both FEI and the CFA Institute and been in the association world for a long time. 86 members, we pulled some stats from some reporting he did, and he has taught us some things, and one of them we really loved was 86% of members cite networking via chapters as the primary reason for joining. So how does that affect you listening to this? If you are struggling with the question of why do we even have chapters, there are some really great case studies and resources out there for you to tell a story to your senior leadership and flip that narrative. Rather than asking why do we have them, ask how can we invest more into them. And the result is increased membership. And the chapters averaged 85 to 95% enrollment in the study that Chip had. So here are a couple of great CRPs. Go on LinkedIn, look them up, and connect with them and say hello. They are fantastic people. They are very giving with their time, especially helping out others like them. All right, back to our list, number 3, support for volunteers and leaders. Now, we just talked about the whole engagement piece, but let's talk about specific support that you need to provide for volunteers and leaders. So what's the situation? The question I want you to ask yourself right now is, how do you stack up to other associations for effective volunteer leader support? Now, you got a couple of answers in your head right now. Either you don't know, okay, you don't know, or it's something that you're doing well in your mind or you're not doing well. But what the situation exists as is, if you're not supporting your volunteers and leaders, you're going to fall down, okay? Now, you're responsible for this. Now, I'm not saying maybe it's your fault that the way it's failing perhaps at your association, but you are responsible for this. So that's the situation. Defining reality is you reap what you sow. If you are not finding better ways to support your volunteers and chapter leaders, then what you reap is going to be what you sow, okay? So what are some solutions to be able to improve this? Well, first and foremost is embracing technology and software to remove the menial tasks that your volunteers are doing today. You know, we've seen a lot of surveys from associations, learning from their chapter leaders what their challenges are. And one of the biggest ones remains that they're working on all of this menial work. That is not why they got signed up for your association. They wanted to make an impact, and they wanted to further their careers. So the more that they have to do on their volunteer time, which none of us can find time, we're all so busy these days, is going to diminish the talent and the quality of people that you have volunteering at your chapters. Moving on to the next solution, leadership programs will attract stronger leaders. Now here's where I often get an answer of like, well, we throw 3 volunteer programs a year, and we also have a session at our annual conference that we put on. It's okay. We're not really measuring how much they love it, but we're doing it. Do not confuse activity with results. Results is a totally different thing than just doing something, okay? What are you measuring? And looking at your leadership programs to see, are they attracting the talent that you were hoping it would, okay? And then we learned some other ways that associations were doing it. We interviewed on this one of our webinars Gary LeBranch from ACG, the CEO there. And they actually put a budget together and actually put grants together for each chapter to pay for outside training for the chapter volunteers and certifications. And this attracted better volunteers that wanted to further their career and were constantly learning, and it automatically attracted the right type of volunteers that were successful for the association. And as I alluded to, you need to measure success. If you're just putting programs in place for your volunteers and your leaders, and then you're saying you're checking the box, you are going to reap what you sow. Because if you don't know if it's working, why are you doing it, right? If you're just doing it because you want to have that program in place, then what you get out of it is your fault, good or bad, not the chapter leaders. So when I get the answer, no one's showing up, I would encourage you to do some introspection on why they're not showing up, because the answer in there lies where success can be found. So what are some of these resources that we're talking about? We have some really good ones we're going to drop here. The Volunteering Guiding Principles. CFA they're a huge organization with an incredible amount of volunteers. They have a really good guiding principles document that we'll share in framework. And then one of our most popular webinars that we did was about the volunteer turnover and burnout and common reasons and ways you can combat these challenges. So I asked you a question on the last slide about how do you stack up against other associations? And here's the percentage of chapter volunteer trainings for associations. You can see the number of trainings per year is here on the left, and the percentage is here down on the right. are on the horizontal axis. Now, what this isn't showing is more better is the question. And I would say not necessarily yes. I would say if you're seeing the programs you create attract better talent, that's where you want to live. That might be only 1 or 2 a year. And then you can evolve and maybe add more from there. But this was just an interesting finding that we wanted to share around where do you stack up on the percentage of chapter volunteer trainings. All right, number 4, collecting and sharing data. Often one of the biggest challenges that exist out there for you CRPs. So what's the situation? Data will tell the story for you. Do you have it? Okay? So think about that. Data will tell you the story. Do you have it? The reality is, if you are measuring success without data, it is the equivalent of driving with a blindfold on. Okay? So you might have your strategic objectives and your strategic plan and all of these things in place, and they might be the best strategic plan across the ASAE. But if I got in a GPS and I put it on my car and I put a blindfold on, I won't be able to know where I'm going. It could tell me turn left and I can still crash into a pole. Okay? If you're measuring success without data, you're driving with a blindfold on. Well, you're saying, Kyle, that sounds fantastic. But you don't understand how hard it is for me to get data. Yes, I do. And there are success stories out there that were in your spot. I promise you that. I will make you that guarantee. And they found a path forward. The question is, do you want to do it bad enough? So you need to define what chapter ROI means for your association. Don't make the mistake of copying someone else and thinking it's going to work for you. Learn from somebody else, another association, a CRP, and then figure out what that means for your association. Create dashboards. If you send a spreadsheet to people with all of these numbers and cells and overwhelming, it's not telling a story. You want to create dashboards in visual representation of your data. Make it tell a story. Make it compelling. And then use your data to tell those stories. Okay? So you can't, telling stories without data are fables. Using data without stories is ineffective. You need to find the way to augment the two. Once you learn the data and get the data, you use the data to tell a story. That is the most effective way to get things done in your position. Whether you're presenting to leadership and executives, or whether you're getting other departments like membership and finance on board with a project, or whether you're trying to work through the chapters and roll out a project across the organization. Okay? Using data to tell your stories is extremely important. We have some resources here from the chapter ROI assessment, the chapter dashboard and metrics. We got some really, really great stuff on this topic because it's one that you guys request a whole bunch. All right, moving right along, number 5, component structure. So the next two are a little bit similar, so I kind of made our answers similar. So what's the situation? Here's this question that you often get. Why do we even have chapters? How many have you have heard that question? I don't think I've met a CRP that hasn't yet. That somebody in your organization at HQ is saying, why do we even have chapters? They're such a pain in the butt. Why do we even have chapters? They don't help us hit our goals. Why do we even have chapters? You know, you can fill in the blank. The reality is this. Sometimes the hardest things to do are the only things that need to be done. Changing your component structure, having chapters, investing in them can be a very daunting task and often require cultural changes at the organization. But sometimes the hardest things to do are the only things that need to be done. And when I say the only things, it's because I'm saying it's what needs to be done next. All right? If this is truly the underlying foundational issue at your association, then this is what needs to be solved, because you can try other things, but they won't be as effective until you solve the underlying problem. So what's the solution? Research other successful structures, okay? Research other successful structures. We have some great resources here on the whole component structure challenge. get a consultant. This is one, there's a lot of the other ones that we talk about engagement and effectively promoting better leaders and volunteers at your chapters. But this one, we say get a consultant. There's some really great consultants out there that just work on these challenges, or this is one of their main services, is helping an organization transform their component structure, as well as help you effectively communicate why you have chapters. But if you don't have a consultant, this one, the skill sets that CRPs have might not lend well to making this change. So get someone on your team that can help. And be bold. This is one not for the faint of heart. You have to be bold if you're going to make a change with your component structures, okay? So here's some resources, more about white papers and some tool sets on what local components and successful associations look like. And this is the example of CoSN in their case study. So when Dresden got to CoSN, like many of you, she had no other teammates to help her with chapters. She had no investment from HQ into chapters, and she was told with no budget and told with no team to go improve membership in chapters. So Dresden is why we highlight her, because the badass that she is decided to take this as a challenge and not look and just concentrate on why things couldn't be done. Her results speak for themselves. Now, they're a smaller association. I know the bigger ones, these numbers would be different for you, and that's great, and that's fine. Maybe 5% increased retention would be monumental for you. Make these numbers yours. You know, what increase in retention would make an incredible impact to your association? If you increased membership by X%, what would that mean for your association? If you doubled the amount of chapters or state affiliates that you had, if you increased sponsorship revenue by X or product sales by X, what does that look like that would be meaningful for your team? So the chapter restructuring, the situation, the reality, and the solution are very similar, and here's the reason why. I wanted to show different resources for this because these two topics got broke out. One was our component structure, is this even the right way to go? Believe it or not, that was a question at the ASAA world, and I think it still is, that people are asking. But I think the answer we're starting to see since I'd say like 2009 is that you can restructure your chapters in a way to effectively scale the organization to help provide what? More impact to your members. Okay, so here's some more resources we're going to share on chapter restructuring about our chapters worth the effort, why one chapter went rogue. There are models, and we taught this about dissolving bad chapters. That is a good thing to do, or merging different regions. So there's a lot of resources here that we'll share with the entire group. All right, number 7, case studies and best practices. So what's the situation? Here's a question I have for you. Are you using case studies to highlight your best performing chapters? Are you using case studies for anything? Have you made a case study for your chapters? The reality is this, that facts and reasons are not enough. You have to find a better way to effectively communicate. Let me give you an example. I recently was just talking to a CRP that said, Kyle, you don't understand, I can't get these people to show up to a conference call with me. And I said, okay, talk me through how you got the call set up. They said, well, I sent out an email on Monday. It was going to be a couple weeks, and so the following Monday I sent them another email reminding them, and one person showed up. And I asked, did you put it on their calendars? Did you explain and tell a story about why they needed to be there? Did you make sure they understood how this affected them, not just you? Were you selfish in the way that you communicated? Did you use just facts and reason to get them there, or did you tell a story? And their answer was, wow, you're right. And so the result will be if they try again and they put it into story format, which is really what a case study should do, then they will effectively communicate, and I promise them that they will get more people at that call, okay? It's never perfect. There's no silver bullet. You need to pay attention, and you need to effectively listen to effectively communicate. But if you're not getting the group as a whole to show up, the challenge is it's probably you. and you need to figure out a way to tell a better story. So the solution is creating case studies that will help headquarters hit its goals. Now, what does that look like? So if you're trying to increase membership, how can you look at what's going on in your chapters? Maybe your chapter in New Jersey or Iowa or Dallas is doing some incredible things with the events, and you see a correlation to an increased membership and retention. So create a case study around that. Tell a story as Kathleen in Dallas or John in New Jersey. So that way it's less about HQ and more about their peers and a story that will resonate with who you're trying to deliver to. That's what case studies can do in those best practices. And then again, I'm going to give you a piece of advice that I want to challenge you on, is work on being a better storyteller. So we talked about being a more effective communicator earlier, but you got to work on being a better storyteller if you want to succeed as a CRP. And then get in the habit of providing access and sharing best practices amongst your chapters. If you continually create a cadence of here's what Dallas is doing well, or here's what California is doing well, people will not only, a couple of things will happen. They'll look at it and say, wow, I never knew that was possible, or what a really cool way to do X, Y, Z, I'm going to try that. And the other thing is they'll also aspire to be highlighted, right? When they're seeing you highlight all these other people, it feels good to the people that are being recognized, right? As humans, we need that feeling of significance, okay? That is a human need. It's just built into our DNA. So if you're doing that with your chapters, others will aspire to say, I want to do something, I want to share something with you that I think is really important and has helped our chapter that I want you to share with the group. You'll start creating that aspirational sense of being a chapter leader. And so these resources here, we'll drop into the chat right now. Some are case studies and benchmark reports kind of helping educate you. Also, when you read a case study, was it good? I think sometimes people create case studies and they send them to me saying, Kyle, look how awesome this is. And I say, you had some good information in there, but man, was it dry. And did I really struggle to get through it? Okay, and there's a reason behind that. It didn't have a story. Okay, even bad stories are better. An ineffective story is often better than dry facts and reason. Okay. All right, number 8. 8 out of 8 is the association trends for 2017. So a lot of people asking us, what are other associations doing? What are those trends that you guys are seeing for 2017? And a lot of the survey data showed us some really good stuff. The situation is this, though. I want you to focus on what matters to you. Stay aware of what's going on, but focus on what matters for you, okay? Don't get wrapped up in what's going on in the trends, but be aware of them. I found a really good quote as I was trying to think about defining reality for this one, and it's by Pele, if you're a football fan. And success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, a love of what you are doing or learning to do. I'm going to ask you a hard question right now. Do you love what you are doing? Because success is no accident. It takes all of these things, but the foundation of it, most of all, is loving what you are doing. So what is the solution as we're talking about these trends? Is connect with other CRPs. We're making a really big push in 2017, and an investment, quite frankly, in helping you guys connect. See, if you're asking what CRPs are, they are component relations professionals. They are you. I looked at the list registered, and I'm looking at all the names here that are in attendance. The CRP is you, Christina, Claudia, Carrie, Michael, Jada, Scott. The CRP is you. So connect with other CRPs and learn from them. Let iron sharpen iron. And when you learn of what they're doing, don't leave it at that. Ask if it's working or not working, okay? Because I think sometimes we look at, oh, wow, they have this on their website. We should be doing that. Without ever asking and engaging with them to understand the pitfalls of it, to understand that it took them 3 times to get it to success. Or it turns out that they're actually going to be decommissioning that project, all right? You need to get involved and have iron sharpen iron. Define what your biggest obstacles are, all right? This is one that I've been doing recently as a New Year's resolution is every morning I've written down who I want to be, and I have 3 things or 3 aspirations of who I want to be in different areas of my life. And then I look at what are my biggest obstacles for each, or what are my biggest opportunities. And then I look at what am I actively doing every week to improve those areas of my life. So right now I want you to define, you could do that same thing with your CRP role at your association. What are your biggest obstacles? Do you have a pig-headed executive director, God forbid? Do you have a department, maybe the VP of membership is just a jerk, okay? Maybe you have chapters that before you got there hated national. Maybe they still hate national. So by extension, you're guilty by association. Define what your biggest obstacles are, and then set aside time to learn just one way someone else solved a similar problem, and do it every month. All right? This sounds really simple, but it is wildly powerful. The people that are going to do it are the disciplined ones. So define your biggest obstacles. Write them on a piece of paper. I am serious. Write them down and put them on your computer. Tape them right to your computer. That's what I do. Put them on your desk. Write them somewhere you're going to see them and you're going to read them the first thing when you get in the morning, and then the last thing you do when you leave the office, okay? Or maybe you work from home, so as you're wrapping up, okay? But define your biggest obstacles and set aside time to learn them, and then connect with other people to help you solve them. Figure out who has done that already, okay? One of the fastest ways to success is to cheat. And not in the old sense that we were taught it was bad when we were in grade school, but cheating in the sense of, someone already has solved this. Why am I trying to recreate the wheel? So connect with those other CRPs is extremely, extremely powerful. And we're going to share some of these trends that are topics and things like that. But I thought setting the foundation or the formula for operating is often a better way than just looking at what's going on in the industry. Because what's going on in the industry might not be as applicable to you right now. But improving how you operate, improving how you learn, improving how you find success is going to change the outcome. So we got a couple of bonus slides here with some information that we wanted to share from the survey. And this one talks about the top 5 conferences attended in 2016. And this came from all the CRPs that we surveyed. So you can see the rating here. So on the y-axis, you have the number of people that rated this conference, and you can see as a collective how many people voted for this one. And then down here you can see the effectiveness of that conference, the effectiveness of it. 1 being the worst, 5 being wholly amazing. Okay, and so this was ASE Annual. This was the MMNC, the Marketing Conference for ASE. This is the newer one, the Great Ideas Conference. This was FURBACH, the Finance one, and this was ASE Tech. All right. Now, there's I forgot the saying that goes into, 3 people can read a graph and we can have 3 different answers. There's a lot of things that are telling in this to me. One is that there's nothing specific just for you guys that have very specific challenges when it comes to the association world. But it was also interesting that this was the most attended, but by far and large, people thought it was mediocre at best. So there's nothing out there that people have really found a ton of value in, and that's something that we're concentrating on here at Bell Highway. Another one was comparing resource expectations versus thought leader results. So what we mean by this is you're going into something expecting one thing, and what was the reality? Sometimes those two can have a huge gap. What we saw here was a lot of people are looking to ASE for answers and not finding them. All right. Whereas there's a lot of other resources like Mariner Management out there that not many people are saying they're going to, but when they get there, they are wholly awesome. And there's a lot of other ones that were voted on too, like Cynthia DeMore, People Power Limited, if you're looking for help with engaging volunteers at your chapters. There's Bob Harris, who does a lot of good work, and it has the franchise model out there for chapters. There is Limitless ASR, who does a lot of great work with certifications. The list goes on and on of really great resources out there for you. All right, so I am ready for some Q&A if we got any, but what I wanted to share with you was something that we're going to be starting called the CRP connection. Remember, CRP stands for Component Relations Professional. The CRP connection, here's what we want to try this week, and you can see we've tried a lot of stuff for you guys. But we want to know if you want to type in who you are, or you want to email us or tweet us, whatever you want to do, who you are, what your top 3 challenges are. We will offer up a couple of other CRPs that we can connect you with. We've created this really great network over the past 18 months of people just like you, and we've seen the cream rise to the top, and they have agreed to allow us to make introductions to other CRPs that they can help. Okay? So one of your challenges that we've heard is connecting with people that have a similar structure inside the association. So whether you are affiliated, or your association has affiliated chapters or fully federated, we understand that there's different challenges at each type of structure. So we're going to do the dirty work or the hard work in finding the ones that can help you. Okay? So type in your biggest challenges or just let us know, email us, and we're going to connect you, and we'll let you know who it is before we make the connection. But we're going to connect you with other CRPs that can help you, and hopefully help you tell a story to your organization to solve that problem, or give you resources that help them be successful, or tell you about pitfalls to avoid, and help with that mentorship. So let us know that it's something that we're trying as we're trying to evolve and improve this community. All right, so that was the top 8 for the week. I appreciate everyone joining us today on this Thursday. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Go grab some lunch. I'm going to get some Thai food, no spice because I have a very weak mouth and I'll cry if I have even mild, but that's just me. Hope you are finding great success because we're already almost 1/12 of the way done with the year. Please let us know how we can help, and we wish you the best of luck. We'll hope to see you next Thursday on our next webinar. Until then, we'll see you later.